If over 100k people showed up to the Area 51 raid with a legitimate goal of breaching the defenses, what do you think would happen? Well, with the main gate being 15 miles from the actual base, I picture well over 3/4s giving up in the first mile. The rest will fall along the way. No one will come even close to seeing anything classified. This is all without security intervention BTW. They'll sit and laugh watching the whole thing unfold via CCTV cameras. Then they will drive out and escort the survivors out into awaiting sheriff's vans to be charged on federal trespass charges. Edit. To anyone suggesting that they would use cars or trucks to traverse the desert. 1. Kill cell signals in the surrounding area to render phone-based GPS systems useless. Then remove or redirect a couple signposts and people won't be able to even find the base. This also limits communication with an element of the protest group as well. If they can't find where they are going and can't talk to each other, most will give up and go home. 2. Set up roadblocks and turn around any vehicles suspected of attempting to breach the perimeter of the base. 3. The desert isn't some smooth flat surface. Only the most durable off-road vehicles would be able to make that drive, which could be upwards of 50 miles depending on how roadblocks are set up. 4. Vehicles are pretty easily defeated by security forces. Shoot out the tires or put a couple rounds through the engine block and the vehicle is down hard. 5. Plenty of non-lethal options for discouraging people, including sound cannons, millimeter wave emitters, tear gas, rubber bullets, etc etc. And that's just the stuff we know about. There's probably a few items we haven't seen yet that they're dying to field test. 6. The use of deadly force is still authorized. Edit X2. It's been pointed out that GPS doesn't require a cell signal. However, the GPS satellite system is operated by the Air Force. Probably not too difficult to get GPS services shut down or disrupted in the area. Edit X3. Apparently that's not how GPS works. That said, disrupting their ability to communicate and coordinate would greatly hinder their plans and discourage many from attempting a breach of the perimeter. Edit X4. GPS jammers exist and are readily available from eBay. Sure, the military has something a bit more effective. A low-flying helicopter kicks up dust and scares everyone off. Most people will forget to bring enough water and be generally unprepared to walk for miles in the desert. The ones who make it the farthest will easily be arrested due to their low numbers. It's a bunch of people in the hot, dry desert with less logistical support than the Fee Festival, trying to Naruto run across tens of miles. Emergency search and rescue services would spend the first couple days retrieving people in varying degrees of heat exhaustion, dehydration, and extreme sunburn. They would spend the next couple of months retrieving the rest of the corpses. Hospitals would be full all over the state. The survivors would mostly end up arrested, save possibly for those who didn't even make it to the sign. Base security would get a nice workout, though. Let's just say a few thousand idiots manage to show up and think they can pull it off. Best case scenario, they make a run for the fence line. The base responds with an acoustic non-lethal device. Roughly 1/3 of the group goes down, clutching their ears. Many more go down as they get closer, determined to make the fence but ultimately failing. So maybe low four-figure number actually make it within a few hundred yards of the fence line, in a significantly degraded state from a single non-lethal device. Cue the riot agents. A volley of tear gas canisters turns the last 5 football fields of distance to the fence line into a densely fogged snot fest. Another 50 to 60% become combat ineffective. Between the ringing in their ears, their inability to breathe, and the inability to see through the fog of gas, most of the group is unwilling or unable to proceed. A small number of intrepid individuals make it within 100 yards of the fence line. The searchlights come on. Between the fog, the tears, and millions of lumens of light in their face, they can't see what the hell is going on. They shout directions at one another. But now they are only a few hundred yards from the acoustic devices. And nobody can hear shit, except for the first salvo of warning shots from a 50 caliber HMG mounted to a Humvee nearby. Most of them scatter. A couple of brave souls aren't intimidated by the warning shots. By sheer dumb luck, they get to the fence line and pull out the wire cutters. One shouts, "We did it, Reddit," just before being turned into a fine pink mist by the 50s. On the base side, most of the 20 people required to actually repel this attack go back to the cafeteria laughing about it. The .50 gunner gets sent home. Then to critical incident counseling. The other hundreds of guys who were on call up bitch that the morons didn't even break through the fence and trigger a real response. And that they wasted their night for nothing. Worst case scenario. Some idiot or group of idiots in the crowd produces a firearm, and they manage to put effective fire on some of the guards. The guards respond in accordance with the row issued to them. Defend the facility with reasonable force. Up to and including deadly force if required. Simultaneously, several Humvees open up with .50 calories and 7.62mm machine gun fire, along with whoever produced a firearm. Hundreds of people who thought they were badass a few minutes ago are now casualties, lying on the ground wailing. Most people scatter, but more gunshots are heard from the crowd, each met with a burst of HMG fire in return, resulting in another pile of bodies. The sun rises on a battlefield that looks like a Game of Thrones scene. There are a few dead idiots with guns, and a lot of dead unarmed people who just got too close to the real idiots. Some people live streamed the whole thing, their phones still broadcasting from their lifeless hands. Of all the things that's not gonna happen this year, this is not gonna happen the most. Half will sleep in, because their moms forget to wake them, and the other half will chicken out. They would probably use tear gas or other riot control methods. There will be razor fences too. The enforcement I mean. They either get detained and arrested or killed, if God forbid some lunatic brings a gun. A giant garage door on base open. Out walks an AT-AT to the killing fields. Nothing good. With 100k people, it's practicality a certainty that somebody is stupid enough to bring a gun. The thing is, everyone has memed about the raid so much that there is literally no way the government doesn't know. It's gonna fail Mayo. Part of me kinda hopes something happens, and the base does some obnoxiously insane shit to troll people. Like do some crazy helicopter lights / projections or some crazy noises, or whatever for the lol. People seem to forget that you can't just show up to Area 51. The security zone starts so far away it is actually completely impossible to reach the actual facility. Military member here. They're going to have the local police and sheriffs there, as well as their own defenses. Basically piling up around any and all entries. Using less than lethal devices. And ready to use lethal. If this goes down it's not going to be pretty. They're not just going to let you walk on by. Best case is a large gathering. Happens in front of the base where they get a bunch of publicity and illuminate some information withheld from the general populace. Everything remains peaceful and nobody gets hurt. The aliens that support the US Gov will just zap them all back to their homes, and they wake up with memories of a weird dream and a feeling of having been probed. If I was the base commander, I'd put up a few big tents in front of the entry. Stock them up with food, drinks, resting places and make it a big happening. Have a few of the tents with info about the military. Scientific discoveries with devices that were tested there. Just in general some cool stuff. Presentations. Maybe roll out some of the old declassified spy planes. Basically in Area 51 con. Everyone who went out there could come back with a cool story and wouldn't really need to do stupid stuff. When is this dumb shit supposed to happen? I'll need to plan ahead to buy popcorn. Buddy, the name of the event is They Can't Stop All of Us. Yes. They can. 100,000 teenagers will stroll into the meat grinder. Nothing China style. They find Harem B and 2-pack and break them out. If they do breach the fences and get close enough, they will probably use those high-pitched sound devices and tear gas. If that doesn't stop, they will probably start shooting. If they get even closer, they will only need to shoot like a handful before everyone scatters back. If even 10,000 people show up, The authorities will close the roads leading to Nellis AFB/Area 51 way out in the desert. For every person who is absolutely willing to jump a fence on the assumption that airmen will not shoot down a crowd, there are hundreds of people who are going to take one look at a dozen state troopers manning a roadblock more than a day's walk through the desert of where they want to be, who will not give law enforcement a reason to arrest them. However big this thing might be, if 100 people actually make it inside the perimeter before they're arrested, I'd be surprised. So I recall a bunch of 90s videos and stuff of Area 51. There is no path they can take that won't set off the guards. They have cameras and other equipment that create an invisible barrier. If any of the knuckleheads survive the trek to the base, what do they expect? Unlocked doors? Bob Lazar mentioned some of the security protocols inside the base. There is no way they could get past it to do anything. Darwin happens. People who think the US government is dumb enough to hide anything in the most well-known secret base in the world. Guarantee you the second any of the military fire a single bullet, everyone starts running away. They're going to get owned by non-lethal countermeasures. The ARD, the USW, the A2/AD, and the sticky foam. My brother, Nap, the army will just go old school. Electric fence. Tear gas. Rubber bullets. Oh yeah, I forgot about those. We get that alien coochie. I'm going to bring a lawn chair and video camera and make myself YouTube famous watching all of you idiots get aced. Well, it'd be a lot like the Fee debacle. A shit ton of people would show up, completely unprepared, thinking it was some kind of catered festival. Instead they're going to wind up having to trek across that goddamn desert. The drive off of the highway to the first gate is hella long, and it's gonna be hot and gross. By the time they even get to the first gate, people are going to be dropping out at the gate, assuming that it's a complete and total surprise. It won't be that thousands of people show up. The guards sound the alarm. 5 to 6 Humvees with security folks get dispatched to the crowds and try to send them back the way they came. With varying success. Some turn and run. Others press ahead. Past the initial security layer is where the fun comes in. All the secondary defenses are going to kick in, which will be the riot control devices, tear gas distribution, either by land or by air, and my personal favorite, the active denial systems. This is fun, because people are going to scream about how they are using alien laser beams. Pro tip. Had these since Afghanistan. They make you feel like your skin is on fire the closer and longer you stay in the field. Think of them like reverse microwave ovens, and think of yourself as that cheese-filled Totino. In addition to setting your nerves on fire, they have audio denial systems called Medusa and LRAD. These are so cool. LRAD is basically directional audio that is crazy loud. It's death metal turned up to 11. They blast it at you till you leave. Medusa is the most likely candidate to be called alien tech. It's sound energy that's silent. It uses microwave sound that pulses from the transmitter. It uses your skull as the speaker. So if you had your cell phone out, recording people, it'd be totally silent as everyone clutched their head in crazy pain. It'd be like a ducked up reverse Bird Barks Netflix film. Not a single person who signs a Facebook meme meetup will be able to run the near 15 miles from no trespass signs to the base in the middle of the boiling barren wasteland. Realistically, nobody will even get within eye shot of the base. They would realize how the 300 Spartans held off the entire Persian army. Population control. Depends on how many weebs and endermen can arrive on time. Light him up. But jokes aside, every country in the world would have a spy mixed in that 100k. A breach is not an option. I'm sure they have some pretty hefty doors on that base. I'd say they just close them. Also barricade the perimeter and use anti-riot equipment and crowd control techniques. Tiananmen Square to electric boogaloo. Given the fact that a guy tried a while back and they shot him dead, I would not be surprised if lethal force was authorized in the last 200 yards or so. Guards overwhelmed by the amount of people and open the gates. And they tear the wall down. And Germany is reunified. Wait, wrong one. An overall increase in the collective IQ of our nation? So everyone there is running toward the gate. The guards are like, okay. Then they see Keanu Reeves, The Rock, Chuck Norris, and many people armed with flamethrowers from Elon Musk. Then they ducking shit their pants and lay down their guns and let everyone in. Then everyone pulls out in a UFO. We should be encouraging this to happen. So many stupid people will die in the process. Our country will be much better off without them. Americans, I have the right to bear arms. The US military. Go ahead, bitch. We have RC drones and RC tanks. This will be a great weapons testing opportunity. Educated observers. Well, what the duck did you expect? They'd invade an empty Area 51. Why deal with that? The authorities would pack up and leave them to it. The first 10 minutes of Saving Private Ryan. It really depends on how the military responds. And something tells me there will be a big difference between online support and actual participants. I think after the first person gets shot with whatever projectile, people will reevaluate whether they really want to know what's in there or if they were just in it for memes/selfies. Obviously the US military would use the Illudium Q-36 explosive space modulator, and it would result in an earth-shattering kaboom. Fortunate son will play. Honestly, if 100,000 people showed up and actually broke the fence down, I assume they would be mowed down with automatic fire. You know, what normally happens to a group of people that forcefully breach a military installation. Breaking news: hundreds of casualties and thousands injured at Area 51 massacre. Here's some footage from a live stream filmed there. Warning, this footage is graphic. If I were the military, I would just have a nice BBQ waiting. Turn it into a silly little PR stunt. It's almost like Take Your Kid to Work Day, except for degenerates who should be taking their kids to work. They can't stop all of us. Thank you for watching. Like, share and check out other videos.